Hello, Precision Time friends and fellow timekeepers. This video is being produced to provide the most up-to-date information for timekeepers operating our PTS 900 base station. As the timekeeper, you are perhaps the most important person in maintaining the proper operation of the entire Precision Time system, as you are hands-on with the control center. That's why we hope that you take the time to review this video, and furthermore, please feel free to contact us if you have any questions moving forward. Gamer operations folks will have already set up the Precision Time equipment for your game. You should find the base station in this state where we have the main screen selected as shown. This main screen includes windows for each of the 3 referee belt packs, which can be used to monitor the performance of those packs, and controls on the right side of the screen to operate the system. As we take a closer look at the individual windows, notice the window on the left is the one for the timekeeper, and in this example, you notice the stop sign, which indicates that the timekeeper was the one that stopped the clock. On the right side is the example of one of the referee windows, and notice that in this example, that belt pack started the clock, which is indicated by the green dot. Another important feature to point out is that there is an indicator for both battery strength, the green bar, and the radio signal strength. And what we have found over the years is that that green bar, especially as an easy visual, is a good indicator as to whether the belt packs or not are connected to the base station. And this is important as it is wireless technology. On the right-hand side of the main screen are the various icons which allow you to perform important functions for the system. And we will cover those in more detail moving forward in this presentation. If you're asked to make a change to either the belt pack assignments or a referee assignment, this can be accessed through the Game Settings icon. And by selecting Change Officials, you actually go into the setup page where we choose the referees and the belt pack assignments. So in this case, if we wanted to switch from belt pack 6 to 7, we simply type that icon, make the change, and hit Save Changes. And in this example, since the belt pack was already turned on, when we switched it over, you can see that it now shows up as being connected to the base station. You may be asked to adjust the referee belt pack whistle settings, either pre-game if you have a list of settings for the officials for your game, or in-game if you find that a referee has inadvertently stopped the clock. This can be accessed through the whistle settings icon, and you notice that then there's edit settings for each of the 3 belt packs. The default settings for each of the belt packs should be at 8825 as shown. So to better understand what the 2 numbers mean, the first number, which is the mass percentage, is how close does the in-game whistle have to match the pre-recorded whistle from that referee that is taken during the calibration. We have found that the 88% setting is the best for all officials, and that should not be changed. The second value, or the microphone sensitivity, is the value that you may need to adjust, especially if you have a referee that is inadvertently stopping the clock. We have found that the default setting for this value is 25. However, if a referee is stopping the clock during the game inadvertently, you may want to bump that value up to 26 or 27, which is in fact turning the microphone down. So you can see here by tapping on the value and then scrolling through and adjusting the setting to 26. We recommend that you change these settings 1 number at a time, and then if you could have that information reported to Precision Time, we can document that information for that official moving forward. As the calibration procedure is generally not completed until close to tip when the referees come out, you may be asked to be involved in performing this step, which is essential for the proper operation of the system. By tapping on the whistle calibration icon, will get you into the menu that will allow you to select each belt pack individually to calibrate. Once you have the referee's attention, and by selecting their belt pack to calibrate, you want to have them blow 2 whistles, normal blast with a space in between the 2 whistles as follows. And then you'll see that it generates a score for that calibration. If you are the person that does the calibration every night, we recommend that you go to our YouTube channel and review the settings and calibration video that covers this information in more detail. A couple important tips is make sure that the referees put the microphone in their lanyards the same as game conditions if they do not come out dressed. Make sure they have the distinct pause between the 2 whistles, and we want to try to get a score of 93 as passing. However, if after 2 or 3 attempts the official is still only scoring the minimum passing score of 89, we should probably roll with that calibration for that night. First topic I want to remind everybody of is to make sure that before the start of any period that the base station is set to stop. Failure to do so will prevent the officials from starting the game clock when the ball is tipped. Once the game starts, it is important that you continue to be the timekeeper, operating the game clock now through the Precision Time base station, or if you have a Daktronics hand switch available, that can be implemented again through the base station, but you are still the timekeeper running the clock. Some features that we added to the PTS 900 to assist you is that you may notice now that the base station beeps whenever the clock status changes. The background, you also notice, will flash red or green depending on whether the base station is stopping or starting. With Precision Time in place, however, you become more than just the timekeeper. You also have to monitor the Precision Time system to make sure that if the clock is supposed to be running, it is. We recommend that you check the LED light between the start and stop buttons every 5 to 10 seconds during live ball action to make sure that the clock is running when it is supposed to be. This will minimize the impact on the game if we do in fact have an inadvertent stop created by one of the referees, and we can correct it in a timely fashion and move on. So here we can show you an example of what the main screen is going to look like through an inbounds situation, where you see here that belt pack number 8 was the first official to start the clock, and eventually we'll have a whistle from the referee wearing belt pack number 3, and you'll see the stop sign as shown over his icon. By regularly monitoring the plays, especially the stops, we can diagnose if, say for example, a belt pack needs to be recalibrated because that official's whistle is consistently not stopping the clock. So to summarize what we just discussed, it is important at the start of each period that you make sure the base station is in stop mode. That will allow you and the referees to start the clock. Make sure you continue to operate the clock through the base station, either with the buttons on the base station or using a hand switch, as though the system were not in place. We highly recommend that, especially during live ball play, that you check the LED light between the start and stop buttons on the base station to ensure that the clock is running when it is supposed to be. And finally, just a brief note, as I just mentioned, if you, while monitoring the base station, notice that a referee's belt pack is failing to stop the clock consistently, have the referee recalibrate his belt pack during an appropriate dead ball situation, say a media timeout or at halftime. The first troubleshooting topic I want to cover is what to do in the event that your base station freezes, either before the game on the boot up or, more importantly, during the game. Obviously, if it happens during the boot up or, say, before the game, you notice that the touchscreen freezes when you attempt to calibrate the belt packs, for example, we're going to go ahead and reboot the base station. So this flow chart kind of goes over how to prioritize the appropriate action if this happens during the game. So if you notice the touchscreen has frozen, the first thing we want to assess is, does the base station control the game clock? So in other words, do the start and stop buttons on the base station still start and stop the game clock? So if this is the case, this gives us more options as to when to actually intervene and possibly reboot the base station. Obviously, if all functionality is lost, we're going to take the base station offline and try to proceed with the reboot procedure as soon as possible. If the base station is still operating the game clock, then we can go ahead and assess, are the belt packs still working? So sometimes, even though the touchscreen is not showing any changes, the belt packs are still starting and stopping the clock, and that's the way we designed the system. So if the belt packs are still working, that gives us a lot more flexibility as to when to engage in the reboot. And the reason I say this is that a hard reboot that includes restarting the base station and re-entering the game information will take about 2 minutes, which is pretty much the length of a full media timeout if we're doing a Division I game. An important point to know is that you do not have to recalibrate the belt packs after a hard reboot. Okay, so we just want to get the game reset up and continue playing. So if the decision is made to proceed with a hard reboot, the very first step is to pull the power from the back of the base station. And at this point, if the screen goes off, then just go ahead and reapply power and try to restart. But in this case, as you see here, the screen has stayed frozen in the Precision Time splash screen. So the second step is to locate the reset button, which would be on the right side of the base station. It is important not to use a pen or any other object to try to depress the reset button, as this could snap the rod, and then we're pretty much unable to proceed with the reset. Hold the reset button down. You'll feel a slight click, and hold it down until the screen flashes, and then release. At this point, the screen will probably go through a cycle down that will take about 20 seconds to complete, and then you should see the screen to go completely blank. At this point, then, you can reapply power and start over with the power on procedure and reset up the game. And as I mentioned, if you're doing this during the game, the original calibrations are saved, so you do not have to go through the recalibration procedure to bring the base station back online. Another scenario that occurs occasionally is the belt packs going offline or losing connectivity with the base station during a game. And this shows up on the main touchscreen as the green battery indicator or the radio signal strength indicator going offline. The first step to try, which is completely unobtrusive to the game and can be done during live play, is to simply hit the radio reset icon on the right-hand side of the touchscreen. And this may reset the connection and bring the belt packs online. So in this example, you see here we have the 3 belt packs that have gone offline. So we tap the radio reset icon, and you'll notice that shortly after we do this, the belt packs are reacquired and reappear as being connected on the touchscreen as shown. So if this does not address the issue, and depending on whether you detect this issue before the game or during the game, we have a couple of options. We can either, one, try to turn off and back on the referee belt packs, which is kind of like a reboot for those packs. Or, especially if this happens pre-game and you have time, we probably recommend that you go ahead and reboot the base station, and that would probably be a more solid fix for the issue moving forward. One of the new features of the PTS 900 system is the ability to generate a log file of each clock event in the game, so we can determine which official started or stopped the clock in any game situation. For most of our international customers, this will involve using the internal clock setting to basically run an internal clock within the base station to generate the game file. If your base station is set up for internal clock mode, you will find in the event screen a time value as shown. And you'll also find in the upper right hand corner where the control icons are located an edit clock icon, which will allow you to reset the clock and make changes as needed. So when we tap on the edit clock icon, it gets us into the control where we can set and adjust the internal clock value. You notice that we have icons titled Save as Default Time, which if you want to change the default time to the 10-minute period, which is the standard period length in international basketball, we select 10 minutes and then save as default time. And this is very useful because then anytime you start a new period, so for this example, we start the clock and run some time off, but then you notice if we go back into the edit clock mode, we can simply hit the reset to default time and it'll reset the clock back to the 10-minute values. Now if you're in the middle of the period and a situation comes up where the referees ask for a clock correction, the numbers then can be selected individually by scrolling the various digits. So in this example, if we needed to reset the clock to 8:06, we can select the value and then simply hit Save Changes, and that will change the internal clock setting to the 8:06 that we wanted. Starting in the 2019-20 basketball season, the EuroLeague is requiring all of their teams to have their precision time systems K-Stats capable. This will actually eliminate the need for resetting an internal clock, as the clock data is actually now coming from the K-Stats interface box, which will generate a more accurate game file. You will, however, though, still need to select manually the period, which will simply assist in the record keeping in the game file. So by tapping on the clock period icon, you can then select the period that you're playing in from the menu as shown. The game time and shot clock values are automatically imported into the base station from the K-Stats interface. For any additional questions about the contents of this presentation, please use the contact information shown above. We thank you again for your support of Precision Time.